Okay, testing. We are on live streaming. Hello everyone, welcome back to another GAMSAT study session. Just a quick, short, sharp one today. We're going to be following up on the exam I did on the weekend and just checking the answers and figuring out the prereq like skills and knowledge components. So as to get to the reasoning component, which is the most important part. So that's what we're going to be working on today. Bear with me and I'll set myself up and then we'll get started. Okay. I've heard this guy, school license will be active. Oh no. That is not good at all. Yeah, so this guy, this guy recommends tracking questions so that once you've learned a piece of knowledge that's required to answer the question, or you've learnt a skill that's required to answer the question, um, not talking about the reasoning component yet. You jot it down in this little Excel spreadsheet, and then the idea is to build up enough of those skills and knowledge and uh, skills and yeah, like knowledge, so that the reasoning component is the only thing you have to worry about, basically. Um, do that as well. So we will go back to 33, 32, sorry. And figure out what prereq knowledge we need for set of questions. So let me get my paper. So first of all, what is the question? What is the closest estimate of the biomass of E. coli to S. aureus? So this looks like ratios. Guessing we need a little bit of maths. So I remember the question. I mean, I remember the stem. So the rate of biomass increase is directly proportional to both the nutrient concentration and the surface area available for gas exchange. So basically, I'm assuming that biomass is equivalent to this, this, and this, and we want the mass of E. coli compared to S. aureus. So what I would do, did I get that right? Actually, just the question. 32. No, I got that wrong. So we have a Google now. So let's try and answer this correctly. I think I guessed. Oh, I think I got 50% time D 75. Oh, it's 33. Whoops. Sorry, I'm answering the wrong question. 32. Which of the following statements is most consistent with the findings? Okay. I think this question didn't actually require a lot of prereq knowledge. I think I just got the reasoning component wrong, so let's check that. So which of the following statements is most consistent with the findings? So if a receptor causes depolarization, it cannot be metabotropic. I don't know what this word means. So how important is that word to knowing the answer? We'll find out. The causes depolarization can be metabotropic. So I feel like it's going to be quite important because you have to know what that is to then correlate that with the findings of the study. So all ligand-gated ion channels bind to neurotransmitters, but not all neurotransmitters binding leads to flux. Okay. Does that have anything to do with that? Ligand-gated ion channel bind all ligand-gated. Okay, all ligand-gated ion channels bind to neurotransmitters. Ligand-gated is, I'm pretty sure it's like those like transporter things on the lipid of a cell. I think, I don't know. Ligand-gated ion channel bind to neurotransmitters. Okay, but not all neurotransmitters binding leads to ion flux. Okay, so let's just go one by one. If a receptor causes depolarization, it cannot be metabotropic. I think, is ion flux depolarization? I think it is. If a receptor causes depolarization, tropic. Okay, let's just, I don't think that has anything to do with the first one, so we'll just leave it. Okay, no receptors that bind to neurotransmitters cause ion flux. Receptors that bind to neurotransmitters cause ion flux. Sorry, cause ion movement. Yeah, I guess what I'm struggling with most in this question is that it's not one for one, right? Like, so words like, so no receptors that bind to neurotransmitters cause ion movement. So there's ion movement, there's ion binding neurotransmitters, there's ion flux. I'm not sure if they mean the same thing. I'm assuming they do. And is this ligand-gated ion channel, is that a receptor? Let's say it is. So no receptors bind to neurotransmitters cause ion flux. Let's rule out B because we're assuming that ligand-gated ion channels are a receptor, I guess. Sounds weird, but and then that it says that no receptors bind neurotransmitters cause ion movement. And it's inferring that some cause ion movement, some don't. Let's rule out B, I guess. Okay, if a neurotransmitter causes cellular signaling, it cannot also cause depolarization. Cellular signaling. I'm guessing that's the same as iron flux as well. Hmm. Let's just say that let's rule that out as well. Because, and the reasoning is here is important. Not sure if it's accurate or not, but um, if a neurotransmitter causes cellular signaling, can it cannot also cause depolarization. Just based on like intuition, like isn't cellular signaling depolarization? But has to. And that cellular signaling comes from neurotransmitters. I don't really know though, to be confident in that at all. Only ligand-gated receptors can bind extracellular signaling. Okay, so that's study A. And I like D, just because only ligand-gated receptors can bind extracellular signaling molecules. All ligand-gated ion channels bind to neurotransmitters. Again, I'm assuming they're the receptor, but not all neurotransmitter binding leads to flux. So again, so maybe some do. That would have to bind a signaling molecule. So I guess I like D for that. So let's look at study B. Some metabotropic receptors, again, don't know what metabotropic means. Some metabotropic receptors trigger intracellular cascades without direct ion movement. Yeah, it sucks not knowing what metabotropic means, and I will look it up. I just want to try and get through the question first. Some metabotropic receptors trigger intracellular cascade, and I doubt it actually will matter, to be honest. Some metabotropic receptors trigger intracellular cascades without direct ion movement. Okay. That study B is like it's nothing. It doesn't. I feel like it doesn't add anything or take anything away. So maybe let's look at B. C. A subset of neurotransmitters activate both ligand-gated and metabotropic receptors. Transmitters activate both ligand-gated and metabotropic. Again, I don't know if that adds anything. D. No metabotropic receptors directly mediate depolarization. No receptor directly mediates Yeah, we're gonna guess D here, just 'cause I don't know if they. I don't know. Who knows? Let's just see. Let's see if we can figure it out. Because actually, I don't know. I forget what the answer is, to be honest. What the hell does metabotropic mean? Lipedic. Met Metabotropic receptors are a type of membrane receptor, often G protein coupled receptors that modulate slowly via intracellular rather than opening ion directly. Okay. So steps that affect cell function, gene expression. Okay. Okay, what else do we need to know? What do we need to know to answer this question? Okay, maybe I break each study down into like a simple phrase of what it's actually saying. That might help. So let's look at study A. All ligand-gated ion channels bind neurotransmitters. But not all neurotransmitters binding leads to ion flux. Okay, so that's basically saying that this thing called a ligand-gated ion channels, their function is to bind a neurotransmitter. That binding of a neurotransmitter could potentially, sometimes, lead to an ion flux, but it doesn't always happen. My understanding of what that's saying. Study B, some metabotropic receptors trigger intracellular cascades without direct ion movement. Let's refresh our memory. Membrane receptor, B protein coupled receptors that modulate neuronal activity slowly via intracellular. Okay, that's important. Some metabotropic receptors trigger intracellular cascades without direct ion movement. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Some of these metabotropic receptors, these intracellular G coupled proteins, whatever they're called, trigger intracellular cascades without direct ion movement. Okay, subset of neurotransmitters active. Okay, so this is like yeah. Okay. I'm starting to get this. I think a subset of neurotransmitters. Sorry, a subset of neurotransmitters activate both ligand-gated and metabotropic receptors. Okay, so a subset activate both. Yeah, that seems important. No metabotropic receptors directly mediates membrane, directly mediates depolarization. Okay. And what the hell are they saying? If a receptor causes depolarization, it cannot be metabotropic. A? Then? Is it A? So a receptor causes depolarization, it cannot be metabotropic. That seems true. It seems like this one because it says here, it says is a receptor, I guess my question is a receptor a neurotransmitter? I don't think it is. But no metabotropic receptor directly mediates membrane depolarization. If a receptor causes depolarization, it cannot be metabotropic. But it seems like a mistake that they would want you to make, putting that at the end and then putting this one first. So I think A could be right. If a receptor causes depolarization, it cannot be metabotropic. No, actually that's not true because in study C it says it's crazy that I'm spending this much time on this question, but I guess this is where we're at, gang, so bear with me, eh? If a receptor causes depolarization, it cannot be metabotropic. That's not true because in study C it says a subset of neurotransmitters activate both ligand-gated and metabotropic receptors. And we know that ligand-gated and metabotropic receptors can cause ion flux, which I'm assuming is depolarization. But then study D says no metabotropic receptor directly mediates membrane depolarization. So I guess A's out. I guess A's out just because of that. Okay, no receptors that bind neurotransmitters cause ion flux. Sorry, ion movement. That's got to be out as well because they do. So I think they do. Okay, see. If a neurotransmitter causes cellular signaling, it cannot also cause depolarization. If a neurotransmitter causes cellular signaling, cannot also cause depolarization. I don't know where or what that's referring to because it doesn't mention that anywhere. So if a neurotransmitter causes cellular signaling, eventually cannot cause. It doesn't mention that. I guess just leave it. Only ligand gated. This is the one I had. So only ligand gated receptors can bind extracellular signaling molecules. I don't know why that's why I think that's right either. Only ligand-gated receptors can bind extracellular. Do we have to know what ligand-gated receptors do? Let's go A because most consistent with the findings, if a receptor causes depolarization, it cannot be metabotropic. No metabotropic receptor directly mediates membrane depolarization. Okay, is it that simple? Please tell me it's that simple. Please tell me it's that simple. I think it is. I think I've just spent so much time on that question just to get to that, and I think it is that simple. Question 32, without seeing the other it is A. I can't believe I spent so much time on that. That's crazy. Anyway, gang, that's where we're at, unfortunately. You know, they try and trick you though, so you gotta be on your toes sometimes. Obviously not on your tippy toes, but you gotta be aware of those things sometimes. That's a good lesson though. That is a good lesson because it was actually that simple and I just ignored it. Literally says only ligand no metabotropic receptor directly mediates membrane depolarization, and in the first answer, if a receptor causes depolarization, it cannot be metabotropic. Good lesson, I guess. Good lesson. Alright, let's go 32 now. Sorry, 33. So again, like I said before, I think we're doing ratios. I think that's what this is. So and I got this wrong actually. So what is the closest estimate of the biomass of E. coli to S. aureus? So the biomass I imagine is 330 and 6 and 20. So just, I don't know, can we add those and then just get the ratio? 33 and 26. How do you get a ratio? Can I get a ratio? Don't you go what divided by something? If I go to 3, I think 3 goes into those, I think, I don't know. 3 divided by what gives me 33? 11. 3 divided by what gives me 12, 15, 18. What goes into 26? $33 divided by... Oh, they've deliberately made this hard so it can't just be done like that. How the hell do you do that? Isn't there a thing where you can like halve them? So, like if I go half of 33, 0.5, and then half of 26 is 13. Halve those again. Get 0.25 and 5. Oh, no, I made a mistake. I made a mistake here. That makes sense. So the rated biomass increases check the portion of both the nutrient concentration and the surface area available. Oh no, I did make a mistake. Did I? Yeah, I think it's both. I think it's nutrient concentration and surface area. I must equal that to SRE. lies around this. I like A. It's straightforward. I just don't want to overthink it again. Equal lies around the same as SR is. It looks a bit like that way. I just don't know the maths way to figure this out. There is definitely like a math formula equation. Equal lies around 50% of it. Alright, maybe we can do it like this. Maybe we can go. How much bigger is 6 to 3? It's half as big, so it's 50% as big. S is 50% bigger. How much bigger is, or how much smaller is 20? 30. 1/3 is 1/3. So it is 25%, 5% smaller. S is 25% smaller. So that balances out to be 25% bigger. So S is 25% bigger. Is that an answer? Yeah, D. Oh no. No, no, no. Is around 50. A. All those answers are terrible because from what I just did, it looks like S aureus is 25% bigger in biomass. E. coli, but I don't have that as an answer. So A would be the closest. E. coli is around the same as S. aureus. So let's just lock in A, I guess, and we'll check it. %. Coli is around 60%. 66. It went the other way. No, wait. E. coli. Wait, is 30 and 20 1/3 bigger than 20? It is, right? And then 1/3 is in a percentage is equal to. Oh no, wait. Is it 33? It is 33. Whoops. That's my bad. 33 and then 66. Yeah, that's my bad. I mean, I get that. Equalizer on 60th anniversary. So I just messed up my math. I did 25% because I was thinking of one. That's annoying. I'm not mad at these two questions. I kind of get it. Has to get them right though. So let's see if we do this. How do we do this as we get more? Okay, how do we do this? Okay, what's the theme of these questions? I guess there was no prerequisite knowledge I need to know to answer that question 32. I don't think. So what was the answer? Which of the following is yeah? So it's just identifying receptor media polarization. Receptacles depolarization can. Yeah, I guess he has types of reasoning here, so let's see if we can find those.
Okay, so we've just gone through how to approach questions, why you define it first, how you find the information, and now we're on to the meat of it, which is actually what reasoning is and how we do it. So in this video, I'm going to go through all my reasoning frameworks, kind of just giving you an overview of what we're going to be doing. But something I really wanted to touch on is why it's really important to think like a doctor. Now, there's a lot of people who don't believe in this, but I certainly do. And I think if you know the relevance of why you're learning something, it makes it far easier to learn because you can contextualize it. You can see why you're learning something, and that helps you break down the skills you need to be able to do that successfully. So I say this a lot of the time is try to contextualize why this is going to be useful to me as a doctor or as a medical student. Because ultimately, GAMSAT is about selecting future doctors. So if you think of it as this is a test to identify if I'm going to really sorry, I've got the bad writing already from medical school. But let's just go through on the left the framework that we're doing, in the middle what we're doing in just a couple of words, and then I'm going to show you why I think that these skills are relevant, and hopefully try to solidify that these actually are the skills that are being assessed in the GAMSAT. So the first one is interpretive reasoning. Now this is mainly the one that we're using for section 1, and this is where we're finding hidden meanings in text. Now why is that relevant? Well, patients always say stuff that they don't yet, and they're giving you little hints. They want to be asked about. They want to tell you, but there's something holding them back. And this is why interpretive reasoning is so important.
Is it? I think it's deductive. That question. Um, I hate Excel. Hate it. Passion. Ugh, hate this shit. Oh, go away. Cut, cut. This must be painful to watch. Did I just delete the right thing? There we go. Okay, thank God. Oh, I don't even need that, yeah. Oops. So we get rid of that. Like a waste of time now that I'm doing it. Question 32. How can I identify that I need to do deductive reasoning? Which of the following statements is most consistent with the findings? Question wording, I guess. There. Is it even deductive reasoning?
is actually drawing that meaning out from what the patient's telling you or what they're not telling you and connecting the dots. Secondly, is deductive reasoning. Now, this is really where we're drawing conclusions from facts. And I think this is important in so many elements. I think deductive reasoning probably has a part to play in all of these reasoning frameworks, but one specific thing I could come up with was making diagnoses. So if you have a bunch of different facts, what do they actually point towards in terms of a unifying diagnosis? Next, we have abstract reasoning, which is kind of interpreting patterns. Now, I thought this is really important for what happens next. So if you see one patient, you know what happens. For example, with appendicitis, it usually moves from kind of a central abdominal diffuse pain to a really well-localized one. So picking up those patterns of presentations really helps in medicine. And another thing that a few people might kind of be connected to is ECGs. So you need to recognize that this pattern on the right here is very, very dangerous. So again, you're looking at patterns, trying to pull out those patterns. ECGs can be very messy. So just another example of why I think abstract reasoning is really important. The next one I have is analytical reasoning. So this is where we're analysing data, so in graphs or in table forms. And this is particularly important as a medical student. You're always getting, and they're a really good way. Are you actually back on face? Reasoning is systems and how things affect certain things in that system. So how a drug might manipulate this, how a disease process might manipulate that system. That's why they put these questions in. Second to last is spatial reasoning. Now, this is when you need to twin, X-rays and things like that, or CTs. You need to be able to follow vessels and determine what's behind what and where things should be. Results over time, so lab results and stuff like that. Okay, so we're going to go through all my frameworks. It's really messy.
Okay, no, I don't think this is a waste of time actually. I think I could see this spreadsheet being useful in a way. I think not as like a record, but more so as a giving me time to actually deconstruct the question. And I'm assuming that when I see questions as, oh, this is deductive, oh, this is analytical, oh, this is spatial, it will give me a bit more control over answering the question, and then knowing, don't get distracted by irrelevancy and stuff. So like, what's looking for irrelevant stuff in particular to avoid um, taking a simple answer when there is one available, and not overthinking it, and then realizing that okay, this is a language-based question. Um, not there's not it's not numerical. It's good as well. Um, and identifying by the question the specific reasoning skill as well. So I can see this being useful. Do have to run though, um, but we will we will pick this up tomorrow perhaps or tonight. We'll see. But I'll see you in the next one, gang.